Hello guys, welcome to another video here on cross-site scripting XSS. Basically, I will be using Portswigger website here to go through like the little basics of the XSS, and I'll be using the Metasploitable tool here to do a little bit of just a practical on it. The Portswigger website does have practical labs, but in this video I'll just use Metasploitable because I'm making videos on Metasploitable too. Okay, so in order to do the labs here, I just needed to do a quick intro or basics of the cross-site scripting. So basically, what is cross-site scripting? SSS. The cross-site scripting, also known as SSS, is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to compromise the interaction that users have with a vulnerable application. It's more or less allowing an attacker to circumvent the same origin policy, which is designed to segregate different websites from each other. Now, the cross-site scripting vulnerability normally allow an attacker to masquerade as a victim user to carry out any actions that the user is able to perform and to access any of the user's data. Alright, basically it's more or less taking advantage usually of the user's page and then to create that attack. Now, how does this work? The XSS works based on manipulating a vulnerable website so that it returns malicious JavaScript to users. Now, when the malicious code executes inside a victim's browser, the attacker can fully compromise their interaction with the application. So more like it changes the view, it changes the interaction on the web application, okay, which you're going to see very soon. So if that input is carried out, more or less there's a lot of things that could happen. You can even go as far as getting the victim's cookies, and it goes deeper than that as well. Now, the XSS proof of concept is more or less using what common practice is using alert. First, you're able to use alert, and which you're going to see soon. You type in the script, then alert, put in brackets with whatever what you want it to show you, and then you use that to test for the vulnerability. We're going to see that in a jiffy when we try the Metasploitable. Now, what are the types of SSS attacks? We basically have two. Usually we call it the reflected XSS, and we have stored XSS. Now, we also have DOM-based XSS, which is also belongs to any of these two basically. So now, what is reflected XSS? Now, reflected XSS is simply the SSS attack that happens on the victim's side, and it happens once. I call it happens once, and for you to do it again, you have to run it on the client side one more time. Alright, it's not saved. Okay, in simplicity, it arises when an application receives data on the HTTP request and includes that data within the immediate response in an unsafe way. So right there and right there. Okay, but for stored XSS, which is kind of way unsafe compared to the other one, it stores that particular SSS attack, and whenever you run that code or whenever you go into that web URL, it will carry out that attack one more time. So it's stored, more like the name goes. For example, comments on a blog post, user nicknames in the chat room. The data in question might be submitted to the application via HTTP request, and then when it's done, it's saved to the server side, and whenever that particular URL is run, it would play out that particular attack actually. Now, the DOM-based cross-site scripting arises when an application contains some client-side JavaScript that processes the data from an untrusted source in an unsafe way. But for the sake of this video, we're just going to be practicalizing reflected XSS and stored XSS. We're going to quickly go into the practical right now, and when we're done, then I'll come back to just quickly take a look at how to prevent XSS attack. Without further ado, over here for Metasploitable, just setting up the lab. We log in with MSF admin, and then msf admin here. And if you do if config, so over here we see that the IP address is 192.168.10.103. okay, so I'm just going to come over here and try that 192.168.10.103, hit enter, and there we go, Metasploitable 2, and we want to go for the dev web vulnerable application. And over here you can see that the username is admin and the password is admin, so we just type that in, admin, password is password. I'll log in. Okay, don't save. Alright, so over here we want to practice XSS reflected and XSS stored. And the most important thing we'll have to do first is, for this video, we just want to set the security level to low. High means that we probably won't be able to bypass those vulnerabilities. So I'll come back to DVWA security and I'll set that to low and submit. Alright, now our security level is set to low. Now I can come to reflected. So now this vulnerability is, for instance, what's your name? I type in Sneakers is my name and I hit submit. What this would do is it will say hello Sneakers. Okay, now to take advantage of reflected cross-site scripting, we have to embed those malicious code. Okay, let me see, I think I have a script alert here. Let me write it out so we can understand. So we have script, I close that, and I also have the closing script as well, which is script. Over here I just want to alert, and in that alert I would like it to show some things like hacked. Okay, alright, hacked. I'll just put it close this way. So if I hit submit, you see it says hacked. Alright, hacked. So this is basically how we can take advantage of this vulnerability. Okay, you click OK and we're back. Now why is it reflected? It's reflected because even if I come back to this same XSS reflected, it's gone. It only happened once, so I have to run it again. I would have to run it again and submit for it to actually occur. Okay, alright, now let's go over to XSS stored. Now the difference is basically more or less that it's the type that have to store that particular malicious code directly to the server side, and that means that whenever you come back to this particular page, it will play out that malicious code again. For instance, if you say my name is name and my message is you, and if I sign up this guest code, you can see here it says my name is name and my message is you. It's saved in this particular page. If I go back to XSS reflected, go back to CSRF, once I come back to XSS stored, you can see that that message is still saved here. And it's the same thing when you try to use when you use a malicious XSS code. So for here I'll say name, okay, and here I'll write that same script. So I'll say script alert, and I want it to show, I'm sorry, I like it to show hacked. Okay, and I'll just end the code with script. If I sign up, you see it says hacked. If I press OK, I go back to any other page here. Once I come back to stored, it would run that vulnerability it will run that attack or that script one more time. So that's the difference between XSS reflected and XSS stored. Okay, also you kindly note that we do have a lot and lots of XSS payloads that we can use, I just use the basic one. There are payloads that can generate the cookies. There are payloads that can even give you some backdoor or get you get us it depends on how vulnerable the website is. You can even get a reverse shell. Okay, so that's that for the practicals, and to end this video we'll quickly come over to look at how to prevent this XSS attack. And to do that, let's go over to preventing XSS attack over here. How to prevent it. In this section we'll describe some general principle for preventing XSS. It's basically in two forms: encode the data on output and validate input on arrival. So it's data validation and data encoding. Okay, these are the basic two things you need to do to prevent XSS attack. For data encoding, you can encode, you know how we started the script with this backward arrow and forward arrow. You can convert them to this AND LT and AND GT, okay, and so on. So basically encoding this data would help prevent it, because the context you're writing into determines what kind of encoding you need to use. For example, values inside a JavaScript string requires a different type of escaping than those of the HTML context. And next is validating those inputs. Inputs validation is very much important to prevent XSS. Okay, but if it's not sufficient to prevent XSS vulnerability in every context, you should also validate input as strictly as possible at the point when it's first received from a user. Okay, alright, there are so many ways to do that. You can also do that by whitelisting and blacklisting. I'm not going in depth with this, but basically this is how we can prevent XSS vulnerability. Okay, alright, that's that for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for learning with me. I'll see you guys in another video, and ciao.